Good afternoon and welcome back in the year 2021 to our series Diplomacy, Your Question, Our Answers. It's a pleasure to welcome today Yvonne Toncic-Sorinj. So welcome to our series and thank you for accepting the invitation. And also welcome to Marta Wawrzyniak, who will moderate this afternoon. She is a student here at the Diplomatic Academy. And let me say about Yvonne, she is an alumni of the Diplomatic Academy. Just to say a few words, she has been for quite some time director for general EU matters and EU institutions at the Austrian Federal Ministry for Europe Integration and Foreign Affairs. But she is, if I am allowed to say, an old hand in Brussels and Vienna European Union affairs. She has been responsible for many issues from the Austrian point of view in the field of EU integration, the field of EU enlargement, in the field certainly also of common foreign and security policy and defense and security policy. And maybe this is something I should mention as well. She's also the Austrian ambassador to Lithuania, but being resident in Vienna. So thank you for having such an expert here on the question. We'd like to discuss diplomacy within the European Union. Some of the diplomatic colleagues remember where the question was when the EU developed whether we need diplomats at all within the European Union, or maybe we only need experts from the other ministries in the governments. And it turned out that diplomats are necessary. And I think the main reason is exactly the question that our speaker will deal with. It's the question of making your country's voice heard in a multi-level governance system. And I guess I'm not wrong saying that the European Union structure is the most complicated multi-level governance system that existed in the world or exists in the world, because it doesn't only include, as you know, the Commission and the Council and the Parliament, but actually it also includes the European Court of Justice. One has to mention this context, and certainly all the national levels, the regional levels as well. I guess in this jungle of competencies, we need some help. And I'm much looking forward to Yvonne to discuss with us the realities of this multi-level governance. And once again, welcome to this. And I pass on to Marta to moderate this hour. Thank you.
Thank you, Ambassador Brix, for this meaningful introduction. I would like to welcome again all of those who decided to join today's event via Facebook stream. My name is Marta Wawrzyniak, and I'm current student of the first year of ETIA program at Diplomatic Academy of Vienna, and I will moderate today's talk. As to Ms. Toncic-Sorinj, I think like Ambassador Brix already introduced kind of all the important elements of Ms. Toncic-Sorinj's job, but I would like to thank you for accepting the invitation for today's event. It is a true honor and pleasure to be able to welcome you here. I would like to remind the audience about the possibility of asking questions in the chat below, the Facebook stream during whole talk and after that as well. So after this short introduction, I will allow myself to hand over the floor to our today's speaker. Ms. Toncic-Sorinj.
Thank you so much. This is a very nice welcome from both of you. And it's a great pleasure also for me to be here again. In fact, it has been quite a time that I haven't been in these premises. I'm at the Diplomatic Academy right now. Yes, the Diplomatic Academy is my alma mater as well. And I have very fond memories of my time here. It is also a partner institution of the Ministry for Foreign Affairs, a very important one. It is a talent pool. And I'm very happy that I can contribute a little bit to the knowledge and the experience of your students. What I've been doing the last years is very, of course, close to the topic that we discussed today. I am now a director for General European Matters, which is a very general title, I must say. What does it mean? I am dealing with the functioning of the European Union. We are very closely involved in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of all the general, not only of the issues of common foreign and security policy, but also of the general developments within the European Union. So what we are covering together with the Federal Chancellery are the institutional developments of the European Union. So what are the treaty reforms, if there are any? What are the institutional decisions that are taken? What are the dynamics between the institutions, the power games between the institutions when there are, for example, when the new legislative cycle starts, when there is a p-election, and then the constitution of the new European Commission, or when there is the new council, a European Council president, for example. So what we cover as well is general European issues in the sense, issues of transparency, of subsidiarity, rule of law issues, for example. Now we've been treating a lot with the Article 50 negotiations, the Brexit negotiations. So this has been also dealt in my unit, in my directorate. So we are very happy that we have finished this big project now with the end of the year. So it feels a little bit like a restart also for us in my directorate. What we do as well is EU communication, which is also close to the heart of the Ministry for Foreign Affairs, is to make understand how the EU functions and to bring knowledge to the broader public. This is also part of my competences and duties. And the ambassador to Lithuania is very close to my heart. I can answer questions on this as well if you want. So, but it is not really part of the discussion today. So, Ministry for Foreign Affairs, as I said, together with the Federal Chancellery, we have a long-standing, of course, responsibility for making Austria's voice heard within the European Union since our joining of the EU 25 years ago. It is still a learning, and we sometimes still feel like a new member state. It needs a time until it becomes part of your DNA as a member state on how to play all the instruments of how the European Union functions and how you make your voice heard. You have the treaties of the European Union. I'm sure that you have worked through them already in the course of your studies here at the Diplomatic Academy. This is the rule book. This says exactly which institution has what role and what are the procedures and what are the decision-making processes. So this is the basis. This is, you have to know what the procedures are, what the voting rules are, and what the competences are. But then there is so much in between the lines, and this is what I'm going to talk about today. It is about the practice of making your voice heard. So how I want to start with now is just to have a look, maybe as a starting point, on the legislative procedure. So what happens anyway? What happens within the European Union when you have to make a decision, when you decide on a regulation, for example? So the legislative procedure, you know, the European Commission makes a proposal. Yeah, this is the role of the European Commission. It submits its proposal to the member states and to the European Parliament. And then the work on this proposal starts. So from the Council side, from the member state side, you get this on your table, and mostly, in most of the cases, the next day or maybe 3 days later, you start negotiating. You hardly have any time to work through it in detail. So the pressure is very high. The presidency has this on its agenda, and it lands immediately in one of the council working groups. There are many hundreds of them in various fields, technical fields and political fields. You know, there are 10 council formations on the ministerial level, but underneath, then you have the Coreper, and then underneath again, you have the council working groups. And there the technical work starts immediately and in a very, very high pace. So member states need to rush through the papers and rush through the commission proposal and make their amendments and make their proposals for amendments. Then you have, we are 26, then you have the presidency, you have the commission, and you have the legal services. Everyone is normally, in non-COVID times, we are around in a big meeting room, and then 27 say their opinion and say what they want to have, what kind of changes they want to have, they want to see in the proposal of the commission. So you can imagine that although these council working groups normally last a day with many agenda items, it is very hard in this short period of time to explain what you want and why you want it. So you have to be very much to the point and pass your message through, make it official. This is a very important issue in the council working group. You make your position official, and then you move on. Yeah, you can imagine that this is not a very waitful way to make your voice heard, just to be one of 26, except the presidency in this case, to make your voice heard. So you need to think about other issues, other means as well. This is one element. The other element is the qualified majority depends on how many member states vote for something and how many of population you can gather for a given decision. So it is not most of the times when now my example is the legislative procedure. Austria is very small. We have 2.6% of population, I think, 2.8 or 2.6. So it is not very powerful just to say we are 2.6. So we need more supporters for our goal. So this is another element why it is probably not sufficient just to walk through the regular path of decision making within the council. You do not get very far with the limited weight you can unfold in the formal decision-making process and in the formal structures. So what else can we do in order to give weight to our voice? It is not only our voice. I think this is something that every member state needs to think about and plan and have a strategy on how to follow goals that are in the center of your national interest. So what I'm doing now is to give you to run through with you through other means of making your voice heard. Yeah, not only the formal way within the council formations. So let me start with a phase before the Commission presents its legislative proposal. It is in most of the cases too late to examine the Commission proposal when you have never heard about it before, and to change substantially the Commission proposal if you haven't taken the chance to influence it in an earlier stage. So what member states do is they examine the programming of the Commission throughout a legislative period, and you are certainly aware that the Commission is presenting its program at the beginning of the legislative cycle. Yeah, it is a 5 years program, and it says already what the goals are. These are political goals, but you need to understand what lies behind these political goals. So, for example, now we have the goal of a social union. So it is within all the programs. So what does it mean to have a social union? You need to anticipate what the Commission's planning is. You need to anticipate what the Presidency's planning is. Yeah. So you need to be in a very early stage, very alert on what is the language in these documents. What does it say? What does it not say? So you cannot do this with everything, or only a few member states probably will do this with all the topics throughout the legislative cycle. But member states choose and pick and see what lies in our main interest, and there we will drill down in a very early stage. So what you need to do, you need to look at the language of the Commission working program, of the Presidency working program, of the Council programming in the beginning of the legislative cycle. And then next stage, you need to look at the Council conclusion language in preparation of the works of the Commission. You know that the European Council gives the green light to new initiatives. It is not deciding on legislative proposal. It is not a legislative institution or body, but it gives direction, and it opens the door or it closes the door. So the European Council conclusions are very important. Most of the time, the public media do not really look at these papers, but they are extremely important, because there you have the language, you have the limitations, or you have the openings. And there member states try to kind of make, to create official European language. And there member states try to give their national interests the basis for the future work. So this is very, very important. So member states need to know in a very early stage what they want and what they do not want. European Council conclusions, of course, they are negotiated at a very high level. They are not prepared in a Council working group or something like that. They are once or twice negotiated in Coreper, if even, and the finalization is done more or less behind closed doors between the Sherpas of the heads of state and government. So it is not it is within a very, very limited period of time, only 2 or 3 days, the member states present their language, and they need to make it understand to the Council Secretariat, but also to other key member states on why we want something. If you're lucky, if you did it well, your language is in the Council conclusions, and then you have a good basis for the future work. This leads me to my next point. When the Commission then has the green light by the Council decisions, Council conclusion decisions, or by the documents in the beginning of the legislative cycle, we aim at introducing new legal framework for whatever, then you need to know in 2 years, the Commission will come up with a regulation on the specific issue that has been decided 2 years before. So you have, sometimes it's less time, sometimes you only have half a year. Then you need to jump in and contact the Commission and talk to them. What are they planning? What do they want to achieve? What will be their proposal? And there you have the chance to introduce your national interest in communicating it in a very early stage to the Commission. So then when the day comes and the Commission issues its proposal, then your position in an ideal world is already covered by the Commission proposal. There is also, you know, there is the white book, there is of the Commission. Then there is a public consultation period, the drafting period. Then you have to look at the college agenda. When will they present it? Then you need to have good contacts in the Commission to get informal information. So the Commission sometimes it is open to consult, to discuss with member states. Sometimes not. Sometimes they know this is a country that we would rather not where we rather not want to be interrupted in our work by. So then you need to have good contacts. You need to have your national not a formal represent, but you need to have your contacts in the European Commission, for example, whom you can talk to, and this is the normal lobby or diplomacy activity that a member state does. Then next stage is the negotiating period within the Council. That is what I started with telling you. So there you are sitting at one of 27 and you have your instructions and they say we do not want to have paragraph X and paragraph Z needs to be changed this and that way. You have half a minute to say this and then you need to be convincing. As I said, this is just a formality. This is just to make officially the point. But what you need to do in reality to be understood is to produce position papers, to explain your position, not too long, ideally 1 page where you explain it and then you circulate the paper to the Commission, to the Presidency, to other like-minded countries. You prepare the Council Working Group meeting by contacting other member states and asking them, we propose to have this language, are you interested in supporting us? Yeah. So this is the behind the scenes preparation and the behind the scenes negotiation ahead or even during a Council Working Group session. So these side talks also with the Presidency, very important this is why you certainly have seen and heard that our minister, for example, already made his trip to Lisbon to discuss the Portuguese presidency. This is not only a courtesy call. It is in order to make the presidency understand what our main issues are during the presidency. So this is then you really use all the channels to introduce your interests, your positions, your papers, your draftings. Yeah. So this is then the Council. In our scenario, we are still in the legislative procedure, in the ordinary legislative procedure. There you can also be overruled in the first reading, and the position of the Council probably does not reflect your position, and then the Council position goes to the European Parliament, and the negotiations of the trilogue negotiations with the European Parliament starts. And there the Council position, the Council position at that stage, which is probably not what your desired outcome is, passes to the European Parliament and the Presidency negotiates in the trilogue with the European Parliament. So here is your next chance. Do not ask the Presidency to this neglect the council position, the intermediate council position, because your issue is not in there. The commission, the presidency will never open it, because it needs to represent what the council at this period has been, where it has come to in the negotiation. So you need to take the back door. You need to talk to the parliament, to the European Parliament. So what will member states do? They will talk to the committee that is discussing the given legislative proposal. So we would then talk to the rapporteur. We would talk to political parties that are represented in the relevant European Parliament in the European Parliament committee, yeah. And we will try to influence the European Parliament's position on the Council position. Yeah? And if we are successful, then the committee in its recommendations will introduce your language. And then the Council, officially the Presidency, is confronted with the Parliament's position, which again incorporates your national interest as a member state. Yeah, so here you have a second chance. In order to influence the European Parliament's position, as I said, you can go via the committees, you can go via the rapporteurs, but foremost you can go via the European political parties. So your government parties will have the chance to contact the fraction and not only influence the rapporteur as a person, but the political party as a whole, which then will vote in the plenary voting on the given legislative act. So there you punch really hard if you achieve to influence your political party. So this is the trilogue phase. Then there are several other possibilities to influence all the actors, yeah, in all the stages. Because as I said, we only have 2.6 or something percent of EU population. We need to find like-minded countries in order to achieve these 65%. So what are we doing? We find like-minded formats and countries. These differ often, but sometimes they are also fixed formats which we use. So for example, we have the Eurogroup. So everything that is connected to finances, we have a discussion on, not everything probably, because this is something that I'm sure that is not in detail, but to important issues. The Eurogroup member states, they have like-minded, they organize themselves and have pre-discussions on the council, on their positions within the council. So you have the Eurogroup. You have regional formats, for example, the V4, you have the Benelux, you have the Baltic 3, for example, you have the so-called Hanse Group, you have the C5 now, Central 5, where Austria is also participating. They are not fixed in the sense that they have like-minded positions on each and everything. To the contrary, yeah, you always have to use the formats depending on whether there is a chance to have a common position. For example, in C5, we will probably not get through our national interest in this context of EU budget. This is the wrong format because they have different interests than a net contributor country. So we need to choose our format. We need to choose our like-minded group according to the topic and where we really have a like-minded approach. This takes extremely lot of time. So and I elaborate on this a lot because these like-minded groups, they do not, you cannot create them instantly. You need to, like friendship, you need to be very constant, and you need to meet regularly. This is an issue of trust. It is an issue of a pertinence, and in order to be able to use these formats. So you need to work on them on middle and long term in order to be able to use them when you need them. Then I come to the next point, which Emil also mentioned before. Why do we need diplomats apart from the Brussels bubble? Yeah, a very, very crucial way to make your voice heard, to make your concern understood, is to lobby or to discuss issues bilaterally in capitals on all the levels. It is the ministers that meet and they have their agenda and everyone explains why what issue on the European level is important to them. So to make you understand and to make the readiness to hear you and to understand you, you have to invest time in other member states. You have to have a feeling and an understanding of what are the concerns of other member states. And this cannot happen only in the formal council bodies. So diplomacy, classical diplomacy, by embassies, by politicians who meet, by technicians, the public servants who travel and who explain. And there you need to know what is important for you. You cannot cover everything. You cannot go through 100% of the European agenda and lobby on everything. Nobody can do this. But member states need to know what is important for us, what are our main concerns, and there you have to invest constantly in these issues. So what we are doing in the Ministry for Foreign Affairs and in the Federal Chancellery, we constantly lobby or intervene in a diplomatic way with other member states on a bilateral level. So this is also why our bilateral embassies are so important. They are extremely important in order to make your concern understood by the partner countries on all the levels. So Austria is a good and a bad example in this. We are a very small diplomatic service and public service also, and in general. So our resources are limited. I always say where the UK sends a delegation, Austria sends an email. Yeah. So you need to have to raise and to mobilize the capacities. If you are serious with your concern, you have to mobilize the capacities. And the more you can mobilize, the more you will be understood. For example, in this early phase that I mentioned, when the Commission is still working on its legislative proposals, if you are able and willing to send your experts to the Commission and have a 2-day seminar with the Commission, then you might be confident that your language is will be found within this in this legislative proposal. So this is a classical diplomacy. And then my last point is use other actors. cooperation with other stakeholders, with interest groups, with NGOs, with civil society, and with media, public diplomacy. Introduce your concern to them and they will multiply it. And they will produce public pressure. And the public pressure supports also your head of government, for example, when he approaches the European Council and says, my country, my citizen, they are behind us. That is our national expectation. So you need to use these multipliers also for your interest. So I'm stopping here. I just summarize maybe what is the recipe for success within the European Union is you have to be well prepared, timely, and thorough preparations on the national level on what you want. You have to have a credible story. Yeah? You have to really invest in explaining why something is a concern to you. You have to have a good strategy to communicate it. Then you have to have the flexibility. You need to be flexible and react quickly. Because, as I said at the beginning, papers are coming. The Commission and the Presidency, they put enormous pressure on you in order to prevent you to bring your concern. You have to be very quick. And we are, for example, a very quick and flexible service. We produce instructions at midnight if necessary, so that we are well prepared for the next day. So you be flexible. And then my last point, you have to have fallback positions and you have to be open for compromise and be open for negotiating on your own position. So this is what I would say is the recipe for success within the European Union. So I hope this was helpful, and I hope to discuss with you further.
Thank you so much for your amazing presentation and for the insights that you gave us already. I will run smoothly to the question part, if it's okay for you. Looking on the stream, currently we don't have questions from the audience. However, if there is somebody still there who wants to ask the question, more likely you're more than welcome to do so. However, I will move to the moderated questions. Is that okay? So the first question that I would like to ask here is basically based on your experience. Do you think that in near future it is possible to achieve the stage where all the countries of the EU will feel that their voice is heard and meaningful? Because that's a topic basically that's going through my life since long years. Also because of the country that I'm coming from. Also this kind of importance of like this more important and less important countries in a sense of like their voice hearing and the things that basically they can achieve on the European Union stage is like kind of crucial. So what's your point on this?
So I would answer your question by pointing out that there, in the technical sense, there is no country whose voice is not heard, because it lies within the system. Yeah, of course we have majority decisions which are to the favor or to the disadvantage to member states. Once you are on this side and another time you're on the other side. I think there are never only losers or winners. And my impression is that some member states, they feel more, they take it seriously, or they feel it more when they are on the losing side, and they do not see when they are on the winning side. Yeah, it is also a perception, a kind of whether you are maybe to compare it with a human being. It depends on your self-confidence, whether you see things positive or negative. So this is a psychological effect that throughout the years, the many years that I am within that I work in this field, psychology and national feelings play a very, very important role and lead to the fact that some member states do not feel that they are taken seriously. This is a politically very difficult challenge, but it cannot be solved by questioning the way that the European Union works. It is a political issue. It is a political challenge to take the national interests of member states seriously. And I must say that my overall conviction is that as soon as a country makes its own concerns understood and makes its own and still is willing to contribute constructively to the European Union, but to the decision making within the European Union, then this is respected. Also, by very small countries, they have their main concerns, and I could really give you a lot of examples where other member states respect this, because we are a family of 27 and each one has its own concerns. Yeah. So if the political motivation is sincere, my impression is then it is respected.
Okay, thank you so much. Basically, we have one comment from the audience, and I will read it to you right now. Good afternoon. From my experience as permanent representative of Poland in Brussels, I wish to add one important element to the very useful and complex presentation. In Brussels, all issues are interconnected, and to be successful on one item, every member state must follow all topics under discussion and possibly trade support to get better understanding for own priority questions.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to comment on that, or?
Mm-hmm. If I understand correctly, the input, the correct input is that you can make deals, you can make trade-offs. Yes, to a certain extent. Trade-offs is a very difficult issue because most of the time you can do trade-offs only in a later stage. So when you are, for example, in COREPER, you can hardly ever make trade-offs in the Council Working Group, because there, if you are stuck there, issues move on to the COREPER. And what you have there is you would need to make trade-offs, for example, in the fishery context, making a trade-off. Oh yes, to stay with this, you need to find a solution for trading something in fisheries with trading and making a trade-off in common foreign and security policy. So this is very difficult because you need to have, I don't know whether, I don't know, Austria trades something and in common foreign and security policy and receives something in agriculture. So our ministry will say, but we have to give up our interest for the sake of the Ministry of Agriculture. So this is something that we would not want. Yeah, trade-offs, therefore, are mostly reserved to the political discussion at the very end. Yeah, at the heads of state and government, I would say. So it is trade-offs are, to my experience, nothing, they do not happen in the everyday work because you do not have the time to make the trade-off, and because the trade-off, you need to involve stakeholders that do not fit together. Yeah, so it happens at the end, where I would say, and this is a very political issue then at the end to make these trade-offs. Mm-hmm.
Thank you so much for this comment. We have two questions from the audience, from Klara Vuketic, student of DA. Thank you for this very insightful presentation. I have two questions. First, how are these different lobbying expression of position efforts coordinated, especially with regards to the Council and the European Commission legislative proposal procedures and negotiations? And the second question, who is typically considered Austria's strongest, closest partner in bilateral diplomacy regarding EU legislative policies?
Oh. Okay, so how are these activities coordinated? I assume that every country does it differently. Yeah, if I understand the question was rather how does Austria coordinate its activities? Yeah, so I assume countries have their own system. What we are doing is we have coordination meetings in the now Federal Chancellery. Before that, it was in the Ministry for Foreign Affairs, with all the ministries, but also with for example, the social partners. Yeah, and we try to figure out what our positions are and what our activities are. Yeah, so who is the paper being presented and who presents the paper on what level, for example, things like that. So it is a matter of national coordination. Then there is, of course, there are other means. There is the Council of Ministers, for example, within the government. They can make appropriate decisions, and you can you discuss with media. Yeah, it is depending. You always, in important issues, you always have a bottom up activities, and you have top down activities. So if it is very important, your head of government gets involved and also decides on what is done. Yeah, maybe I did not mention it. You also have the parliament, of course, as an important actor. Also, it is also on the national. There are parliamentary formats. I didn't mention the COSAC meetings between the European Parliament and the national parliaments, where all these issues are also discussed. So it is a matter of coordination within a country, and there you have given avenues that you use, but again, you have to be flexible. Yeah, so you have to react very quickly, and if it's necessary to visit the commission, and then you jump into the plane in normal situations, and you go to the commission and talk to the people. And then the second question, sorry, our partners. As I said, we do not have like-minded partners in general. So where we could say we are like-minded in all the issues, and they are very close partners in the European Union, and we can count on their support in any way. This is not the case. We are, of course, we are a net contributor. We are in the group in the Eurogroup, where we do a lot of coordination. In this field, there we have the interior aspects, for example. There we have a lot of partners in our immediate neighborhood, where we have similar positions in the field of for example, migration issues. So we need to search for our partners depending on the issue where we want to be supported. Mm-hmm.
Thank you so much for your answer. We have another question from the audience, from Constance Armin. With regards to uploading national preferences to the EU level, to what extent can especially smaller EU member states profit from EU membership in their foreign policy standing? Thank you very much for sharing your expertise with us.
Mm-hmm. So foreign policy, Do you mean in common foreign and security policy, I assume? So which is another field, because it is not a majority voting topic, but it is or a policy field. It is a field where we have unanimity. This is a special issue, of course, because theoretically in unanimity you can block everything, because everybody needs your voice, and you can only have 400,000 inhabitants within the European Union of 450 million, and you can block everything. But this is not the practice, because member states know that when you block something and where you play hard, then you lose friends. Yeah. For the next issue where you want to be supported, maybe also in another field, which is then a majority voting. So this general attitude to be constructive and to look for solutions and not to block because your position has not been implemented to 100%, this does not lead you far. The question now, what is the advantage of if I understood the question correctly, what is the advantage of a common foreign and security policy for a small member state? I think this is evident, because the leverage is much higher. You have, if your foreign policy concern is covered by the European Union, and the weight of the European Union is behind your concern, then of course you have a much higher leverage than you can ever achieve as a small country. I think if this was the question, I'm not sure whether I got it right.
Thank you so much for answering this. We don't have any more questions from the audience. So I will jump into the moderating question as well, since we still have 6 minutes left. And my question is basically about the role of Brexit in the current state of the diplomacy within the EU. Do you think that Brexit will have this significant influence on how we understand the diplomacy within the EU? Or will it more be like another step to grow and learn from, rather than something which will change massively the way we see diplomacy?
This is a difficult question, because we need to look to answer it. We would need to have a final answer on why Brexit happened, and there are many answers to this question. Of course, one answer is that the domestic situation in the UK was detrimental to the outcome of the how was it called, in 2000, the referendum in 2016. So the same referendum in another country would have produced a completely different outcome. So the domestic situation within the UK was deplorable. Then we had the general situation. It was still the migration crisis, and the trust within the solution competences of the European Union was at a relatively low moment. So of course, a kind of lesson learned would be is not to allow things become that negative, and that the perception of the EU does not become that negative. And this is a general lessons learned, but how to achieve this is a challenge. And one answer to this, of course, is also in relation to the question that was asked before, not to let a member state's distance between each other grow too large. We have to have this feeling for each other. And we are here from Portugal to Bulgaria, which is a huge distance, and not only geographically, but also the mindset and the historic experiences of the member states. They are so different. Also the legal systems of the member states are so different. The national the political systems are different. So we need to have a union which enables all of us to be to live within, and this is the overall political necessity in order to remain the home, the political home of all the member states. This is a very general political goal that also our government, the Austrian government, is addicted to, is that we need to keep this a dialogue among each other, and keep the feeling for the main concerns of each other.
Thank you so much for your answer. We are currently running out of time. So at this point, I would like to thank you so much, Ms. Toncic-Sorinj, for your really interesting presentation on all insights that you brought to us, as well as answers for your all answers for questions. It was really interesting, and I'm sure that our audience took much information from your talk. I would like also to thank the audience itself and people who asked questions, of course, for the active contribution. And
all the best.
All the best.
Bye.